And then the last topic I'll go on before we go to questions is, I've spent the last 2-3 years doing what I hate the most, which is trying to get funds. In the end, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm focusing on companies that can start from a shoestring and build them organically, rather than going out and getting funding. Because ultimately with funding, you're making a choice of evils. The best way is if you can self-fund, but you should still keep it low. So, go big, go broke. That's one way to do it. But you better have a lot of confidence. And you better be able to hang in there for several years. The way that I've been most successful with is really client funding, which is the best if you can get it. If you're doing something technical, you can usually get pilot studies for whoever your intended client is. And in those, you'd be surprised how easy it is to do your own studies, to prove something to someone. You can usually get someone to pay for it. And you can do custom designs, and say you have a standard design, but theirs is somehow custom, and you can make them pay for that. So there are ways to survive through the growth process. And then the other one is, if you don't, it's mostly about cash flow. If you can get progress payments that cover your costs, you also don't have to worry about financing. The way to do that is just, if they'll pay 50% up front, you double your cost. That's the way if you can manage it. The other way, which is more common in the whole .com industry or the high-tech industry, is to go out there for bigger money. We're in a fortunate day and age where you have some benevolent sites out there for crowdfunding. That will actually expect nothing of you and give you money just because they like what you're doing. These can be very good for finding out whether you actually have something that people like, because the amount of money gives you kind of a vote whether they would maybe buy it once they had it, right? And your other option is really to do it on your own and go out there, and there's things you can find on the Securities and Exchange Commission site. There's something called Rule 505 and 506 where you can go out and make a prospectus and raise money with people that you know, or colleagues, or friends of friends. And that's really, unless you have to go the other way, that's as far as I would ever go with financing. Unfortunately, I've gone much farther. Investor relations, public relations people, I'd like to say, or call it, let the crooks get you the money, steal it for you. I've had nothing but nightmares in this scenario. I've had everything from, in the biotech company, which was started as a public company long before I came along, and I actually got involved trying to warn them against one guy. He was paid in shares. Actually, let's go forward to the next slide. And they had done this sort of standard model. You buy a public shell and you promote your stock in order to raise through either private placements at a discount to the market. So if somebody goes out to 100 widows and whatever and retirees and tries to get them to buy your shares, the price goes up, and then you sell to other people at a discount to market. It's a horrible system. The most efficient way to raise money, because you have to spend money to get your price up in order to get money at a decent price. And ultimately you're at the mercy of the markets and the sharks that are swimming in it, because somebody else can be playing with your share price. And ultimately the IR/PR people, they're going to get what you pay for. You don't get much for what you pay for from them. And the things I have found is that your chances of actually getting any funding back into your company are inversely proportional to how much you pay to them. So if they say that they're so good they deserve an upfront fee, you can be guaranteed you'll never get any money. Their consulting fees are usually a parting gift, is what I call it, to get rid of them. And if you pay in shares, what you'll find is that they won't share the profits from when they sell them. We had one guy who went out. We gave him 100,000 shares in the biotech company, which were restricted, not fully earned. He couldn't sell them. He took our share price, and I don't know even how he did it, ran it up to $12, and sold his 100,000 shares 20 times over to people at $6. And then he disappeared to the Philippines. So that was quite an experience, and we ended up having many shareholders coming back to us who've been defrauded by the guy and ended up having to do the right thing to pay them out. So the whole area of money raising on small public markets is just filled with crooks and sociopaths, to tell you the truth. You think it sounds crazy, but we had the most successful IR/PR guy we ever had was a lunatic. And you can look him up if you would like. I don't know if I should say names in the thing, but ice cold stocks, if you ever go there. There's a guy who regularly would call me up just to tell me what an idiot I was and that I was a loser, my company sucked, but I'm going to get the price up today. And I could stand about 3 months of it, and I finally told him to go to hell. And we just let the stock price do whatever it was going to do. So, and it's a crazy situation because if I were to go in and rob a convenience store, 20 police would show up and shoot me dead, probably. If I go out and defraud 10,000 of you for $10 million, you can call the FBI and they might get around to it in the next 2 years. In another company I was involved with, they raised $14 million from 650 people and literally walked into the bank. They set up 2 accounts. One was the real trust account where they were trying to accumulate more than $10 million, and the other one had the exact same name at another bank without the trust on the end of it, and they would only take checks, so they would just deposit the checks in the other account and they walked out with the money. And at the end of all that, we actually got the FBI to raid their place and did whatever else. They seized his Bentley and they seized his $20,000 a month leased house. And 6 months later, they were back in it. One guy got 6 months, the other one's left the country for 2 years and came back. So all I'm saying is, in my experience, and it may not be everyone's, is that go to the public markets only as your final way out. To raise money, there are better ways as a private company. The slightly better way, and the last thing I'll discuss, is the venture capital route. Before 2009, and probably there'll be another big bump in history somewhere where venture capital is free. It was free in China 4 or 5 years ago. It was close to free here before 2009. But once where cash was king, it has now become emperor and has targets on being a demigod, I think. In this last round of negotiations I had, as I told you, I had a company with earning nearly $10 million a year profit, and all we needed was $35 million against that. What the best offer we ever got was they would take 80% of our company. They wanted 31% interest, so they weren't even giving us equity. They were treating their equity as a loan, and we had to sign horrible, horrible agreements. So in the end, I said no. So they want their money to be a loan, but they're also given equity, and it's very hard unless you have a large enough percent to actually maintain control of your company. That's not always been the case, and it's easier with a pre-revenue company, strangely enough. I worked in Silicon Valley as a lawyer in the dot-com days, and the companies that got the most money were the ones that had the wildest business plan and the largest potential that was probably never going to be realized. The ones that got no money were the ones that actually were making money, and therefore their limits were known. That's still true to this day. It's easier to raise money where there's unlimited potential, meaning probably none, than it is with some that has determined potential. So this is the only really possible if you have a significant portion of it your own money and you can be multiplied by somebody in VC.